the dark ritual murder. They never talk about the body in the clearing. The forest behind Hartwell County had always been quiet, a place for hikers, school field trips, families with strollers. But at sunrise on October 14th, everything changed. A jogger found a body in the clearing, not hidden, not buried, arranged. The victim, a woman in her late 20s, lay in the center of a ring made of stones and dry branches. Her eyes were closed, her hands placed neatly over her chest, as if she had been posed rather than discovered. There was no blood, no signs of struggle, no defensive wounds. Just the unmistakable feeling that someone wanted the scene to mean something. Detective Elena Ward, one of the most experienced investigators in the county, stood over the clearing with her jaw tight and her breath visible in the cold morning air. She had worked homicide for 18 years. She'd seen nearly everything. But this, the precision, the silence, the deliberate presentation, felt different. The victim was quickly identified as Emily Crane, a local graduate student studying anthropology at the nearby university. According to her roommate, she had gone to the library the night before and never came home. Her car was still in the parking lot. Detective Ward drove straight to the university to speak with Emily's advisor, Professor Daniel Pierce, a well-known cultural history professor with a charismatic reputation. His office walls were filled with books on ancient civilizations, rites of passage, and ceremonial symbolism. When Elena mentioned the circular arrangement, his eyes flickered just for a moment. "It sounds ritualistic," he said carefully. "But ritual doesn't always mean violent. Sometimes it means symbolic. Sometimes it means controlled." He spoke as though he knew more than he was willing to share. Meanwhile, forensic techs combed the forest clearing. They found footprints, but not many, just one set leading out of trees. The strange part, the stride length was perfectly measured. No rush, no panic. Whoever staged the scene walked away calmly. Then came the real twist. Inside Emily's backpack, left neatly beside the stones, were three things: a notebook, a copy of a 19th century folklore book, and a handwritten note addressed to Emily herself. Detective Ward opened it carefully. "You said you wanted to understand. Now you will become part of the history you studied." There was no signature, no handwriting match in the system. Back at the station, Ward and her team reviewed traffic camera footage. At 9:14 p.m., Emily was seen leaving campus. At 9:21 p.m., she stopped at a gas station. She appeared calm, unaware of being followed. But at 9:23 p.m., a dark-colored SUV appeared behind her. No plates, no identifiable markings. Windows tinted. The vehicle followed her into the night. Emily's final movements were silent, predictable, ordinary, until they weren't. Detective Ward stared at the screen. Someone hadn't just followed Emily. Someone had studied her, tracked her routine, known her schedule. This wasn't a random killing. This was planned, methodical, personal. And when police pulled the library security logs, one name kept appearing in proximity to Emily, day after day, logged within minutes of her arrival and departure. Professor Daniel Pierce. Ward closed her notebook slowly. Something cold, quiet, and calculated was beginning to take shape. The kind of truth people don't speak aloud. The kind of truth buried under the words intellectual curiosity and historical research. But the moment she opened Pierce's research archives, she found something she was never meant to see. A second victim, identical arrangement, from 12 years earlier. A case that had been ruled accidental exposure to the elements. And the woman in that case, also one of Pierce's students. The detective's breath froze in her throat. This wasn't the first. And someone had gone to great lengths to ensure no one ever discovered the pattern. The scholar of silence. Detective Elena Ward drove back to university with her pulse steady but her thoughts racing. The pattern was too precise to ignore. Two women, years apart, both students of Professor Daniel Pierce, both found posed in ritual arrangements. Both cases quietly dismissed or overlooked. The campus looked peaceful in the soft afternoon light. Students laughing on the lawn, bicycles locked to rails, the smell of coffee drifting from the commons. It was a scene that felt painfully out of sync with the horror she was uncovering. She climbed the old stone steps of the Humanities building and stood outside Pierce's office. Inside, he greeted her with the calm, polite warmth of a man who believed he was in complete control. "You're back," he said, folding his hands. "Have you learned anything new?" Elena studied him carefully. Emily wasn't the first. A long silence stretched between them. Pierce didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't look surprised. He simply leaned back slightly, exhaled, and said, "Then I suppose you understand that context is everything." "What context?" Elena asked sharply. He smiled, small but unmistakably confident. "Rituals are misunderstood. People see patterns and assume violent intent. Sometimes they reveal purpose, meaning." "Emily is dead," Elena said, her voice stiff. His smile faded, but only in shape, not in intent. "Meaning requires sacrifice." It was enough. Elena stood. "You're not to leave the state. You'll be contacted for a formal interview." As she left the office, one of Pierce's graduate assistants, a quiet young man named Caleb Hart, watched her from down the hall. He looked nervous, too nervous. Elena made a note to speak with him later. At the precinct, Tex continued sifting through Emily's notebook. Most of the entries were academic, references, translations, cultural notes. But the last 10 pages were different. They were written in hurried handwriting, with shaky lines. "He says there are things older than history. He says I can witness it. He says I will understand once the circle is complete. I don't think I want to understand anymore." The final page was ripped out. Fingerprint analysis came back with a partial match. Not Emily's, not Pierce's. Caleb Hart. Detective Ward found Caleb in the music building, sitting alone in the choir room, staring at nothing. His hands shook as she approached. "I didn't want to be part of it," he whispered before she even asked a question. Elena sat beside him, quiet. "He chooses them," Caleb continued. "He chooses who gets to join the circle. He says it's ancient. He says it's an honor." His voice cracked. "I thought it was all academic at first. Symbolism. Theory. But then Emily started spending more time with him. He watches them, studies them, makes them feel special." Elena's chest tightened. "Caleb, where would he take her? Where did the ritual come from?" Caleb swallowed hard, eyes full of fear. "He didn't invent it," he whispered. "He joined it." Elena felt the air shift. "Joined what?" Caleb looked at her, and the terror in his eyes was real. The Circle of the Sixth Dawn. A name Elena had never heard before, but one she somehow immediately understood was not local, not new, and not small. Then Caleb said the words that changed everything. "Emily wasn't the last. He's already chosen the next one. The Circle of the Sixth Dawn." Detective Elena Ward didn't wait for a warrant. Caleb's confession was enough to move. And if he was right, someone else's life was already in danger. He told her the next intended victim was Lily Harrow, another anthropology student in Pierce's advanced seminar. Lily was bright, soft-spoken, and deeply fascinated with ancient cultural traditions, just like Emily had been. Elena called her partner and campus security simultaneously. "Get to Lily Harrow. Now!" They scrambled across campus. Students turned to look as officers ran toward the Fine Arts building. But Lily wasn't there. Her backpack was. Her books were. Her coat was hanging on a chair. But Lily was gone. Detective Ward swallowed hard. Checked building exits, parking lots, security cameras, every entrance. A security officer pointed at a monitor. Her key card was used at the old botanical greenhouse 15 minutes ago. The greenhouse had been closed for repairs since the spring, isolated, shielded by tall hedges, nearly invisible in the dark. Elena sprinted. Rain began to fall, slow at first, then pounding. The greenhouse windows glowed faintly in the night. Inside, warm air misted the glass. Rows of plants twisted toward skylights. And in the center, a circle of stones. Lily stood inside it, trembling, eyes red from crying. And facing her, calm and collected in a dark coat, Professor Pierce. He didn't look surprised to see Elena. He looked almost relieved. "You're early," he said quietly. This was meant to happen at dawn. Elena raised her voice. Step away from her. Now! Lily sobbed. Please, I didn't understand. He said it was symbolic. He said, Pierce lifted a hand. I told you, Lily. It is symbolic. It always was. No one was ever meant to be harmed. Elena's voice was steady, controlled. Emily Crane is dead. Pierce's expression flickered, something between pain and denial. No, he whispered. Emily chose to cross the threshold. I guided her. I never touched her. I never forced anything. She believed. They all did. Lily's breathing accelerated, panic rising. Elena stepped forward. Daniel Pierce, you are under arrest. Pierce didn't run. He didn't fight. He turned his wrists outward, calmly, palms up, a gesture so deliberate it felt rehearsed, like he expected to be caught. As officers cuffed him, Pierce looked directly at Elena. You stopped my part in this, he said, but you don't understand. I didn't create the circle. I studied it. I followed it. And I'm not the only one. Elena's blood chilled. Who else? Pierce didn't speak. He smiled. 3 months later, Pierce was awaiting trial. Lily was safe. Caleb was in protective counseling. The university was under investigation. But something lingered. One evening, Elena sat alone in her office reviewing archive case files. And there it was. A cold case from 1994, another from 1971, and another from 1956. Each one involving a woman found in a ritualized stone circle. Different cities, different states, different eras. The same formation, the same symbols, the same phrasing and notes. To understand is to become part. This wasn't one killer. This was a tradition, a network, a lineage, hidden in plain sight. A knock sounded on her office door. A plain envelope slid beneath it. On the front, no sender. Inside, a single photo of Elena walking to her car the night before, taken from behind, blurry, distant, and written beneath it in neat, careful handwriting. You're already being studied.